Today's bulletin will be an education special.
We will be exploring how counter-terrorism strategies have impacted on education in the UK.
On the programme, we will be interviewing the boy from a North London school who was wrongly accused of terrorism.
Nikki Morgan joins us in our studio to discuss the prevent strategy in schools.
Her Majesty's Chief Officer Inspector Sir Michael Wilshaw tells us about the Promoting British Values document used in schools.
And teachers give us their opinion on counter-terrorism strategies.
Hello and welcome to UOC News.
In London's Central Foundation School, a 14-year-old Muslim boy was questioned about Islamic State after classroom discussion about environmental activism. The teenager mentioned that some people use the term eco-terrorist to describe those who take environmental action to prevent trees being cut down. The teacher misunderstood the phrase, taking him out of class for a formal interview. His parents are now taking legal action after their child was left scared and nervous by his experience. This incident gives us an insight into how the counter-terrorism prevention strategies are implemented by schools in the UK. The boy in question, who wishes to remain anonymous, was interviewed by our team.
Can you tell us about the incident which led to your unjust accusation?
I didn't know what was going on. They said there had been safety concerns raised. If you're taken out of a French class and asked about ISIS, it's quite scary. My heart skipped a beat.
What was the word you used in French class?
I wanted to use the word eco-warrior to talk about people who protect trees, and then explain to the teacher how some people refer to this as eco-terrorism or l'écoterrorisme in French. These people put nails in trees to prevent them being cut down by blunting the chainsaws.
The following week, you were taken out of another French class to an inclusion centre. Can you describe to me what happened there?
The lady behind the desk told me she was a child protection officer. She then said to me that there had been safety concerns raised. I didn't understand why she was talking to me about this, but she went on to say that Miss Dean said I'd used the word terrorism in the last French lesson. Another woman at the inclusion centre asked, "Do the chainsaws explode?" But before I had a chance to answer, the First Lady asked me, did I understand why there could have been a misunderstanding?
Did she ask you anything about Islamic State?
Yeah, she asked me if I was involved with ISIS, which made me feel alarmed and scared.
Do you know what ISIS is?
I've heard they behead and kill people. I've seen reports about them in the media.
How do you feel about it now?
I feel quite reluctant to join in class discussions for fear of being suspected of extremism. My school friends have been very supportive, especially the white ones. They think it was an injustice suffered because I'm a Muslim.
Thank you for sharing. It must have been a traumatic experience.
In the last few minutes, we have gained contact with London Central Foundation School's head teacher, Miss Smith.
Good morning, Miss Smith. Do you think you approached the situation in the correct manner?
Good morning. Well, as a school, our aim is to protect the welfare of the child in line with the prevent duty and in relation to teaching British values policy. So yes, we did approach this in the right way.
And what does the prevent duty say about this?
The prevent duty is a way of keeping children safe from the risk of radicalisation.
Do you feel that you showed prejudice towards this particular boy as he's from a Muslim background?
We are confident that our safeguarding policies and the work of professionals were justified, proportionate, and placed the well-being of the child to the forefront. I will not comment on confidential matters relating to individual young people.
What is your response to the proposed legal action to be taken against your school?
The approach of alerting the designated child protection officer by email regarding inappropriate references to terrorism and for her to have a short 10-minute conversation with the child was a reasonable and proportionate response. This step cannot be criticised as we had due regard to our duty of safeguarding pupils and the need to prevent them being drawn into terrorism.
Thank you for your time, Miss Smith.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We will now speak to the Secretary of Education, Nikki Morgan, about the Prevent strategy.
Hello, Mrs. Morgan. It's nice to have you in the studio. Can you explain the processes that schools have to go through in preventing terrorism?
Yes, if we look at the flow chart and using examples from the boy from London, the first step of the Prevent process is identification. This was outlined by the French teacher who identified the boy as a potential threat. The second step is screening referrals, and this was shown when the child support officer interviewed the boy in the inclusion centre. Having determined that the case was misinformed, this then became apparent that no appropriate action should be taken. However, if this was a serious threat, the following steps would have to be taken.
Does the Prevent work in schools only focus on Muslims?
Our Prevent work is intended to deal with all kinds of terrorist threats to the UK, not just Muslims.
What support is provided for teachers and staff in school?
We now provide appropriate training for teachers to prevent extremism in schools. The importance of Prevent awareness in training teachers and professionals in safeguarding roles ensure that children can be identified as vulnerable to radicalisation.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Morgan. Goodbye.
We now have Her Majesty's Chief Inspector from Ofsted, Sir Michael Wilshaw, who will talk to us about promoting British values.
Can you tell us about the Promoting British Values document?
The government has defined extremism in the Prevent duty as vocal or active opposition to fundamental British values, including democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, and mutual respect and tolerance of different faiths and beliefs. Therefore, schools are offered the non-statutory Promoting British Values document to use as guidelines for teaching these British values. If children are taught these values, they will appreciate and value different faiths and beliefs and will be less likely to be drawn into violent radicalisation. Schools are required by law to teach fundamental British values, including spiritual, moral, cultural, mental and physical development of pupils, and we look for these qualities when inspecting a school. If these British values are instilled in children from the early years foundation stage, they will be far less likely to be drawn into radicalisation.
Thank you very much for your insight into the Promoting British Values document.
Thank you.
We will now hear the views of some teachers about the counter-terrorism strategies used in schools.
How do you think that counter-terrorism strategies have impacted education in the UK?
I think that the Prevent duty has helped improve and encourage British values in our schools, as we have lots of extracurricular activities. There is open spaces for class debates, and we also discuss current affairs. We also have a boxing and football club, and these help promote inclusion and prevent radicalisation.
How has your teacher training course helped you to understand counter-terrorism issues in schools?
Well, at university we have taken part in Channel's Prevent training course. Here's my certificate. This has made us more aware of the signs of radicalisation when in schools or on placement, which helps us prevent terrorism.
I am Heather Allen.
And I'm Rachel Weir, and we're reporting for UOC News.